Welcome to the Hoopstrology Podcast Season 2, brought to you by the Bayesidian. My name is Jesus Acevedo Jr., and I'm joined by the Zodiac GM. What's up, Zodiac?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, man?
What's going on is that March Madness is in full swing. That's how I'm doing, Zodiac. March Madness has started. It's spread of the seas. You know, it's going to take over. The first four. You know, the first four is what they call these first two games. You know, do you remember back when we were growing up? They didn't have a first four, right?
They didn't. Yeah, it's been quite a change, actually.
It's been a change. So you know me. I'm a as you know, I'm a Gemini guy. Stand up and represent Gemini. So once I get latch onto something, I get interested. Like, wait, why? How long has it been the first four, and why did they do the first four? Right. So in my research, you know, I found out that in 2011, the tournament expanded to 68 teams. You know, it had always been 64 teams, right? So it expanded to 68 teams. And they called the first two games the first round, and then they called the second round what was the 64 tournament, 64 team tournament, right? In 2016, they officially said, okay, we're going back. The first round is now the round of 64, which is how it's always been. And the first two games will now be called the first four, you know, because they were already being called that. Those four games, those two games, they were already being called the first four by people and media, just, you know, colloquially. So they call it the first four. And it also mirrors the final four, right? Which is what all teams are playing, you know. So I found that very interesting how they got to that. So we've had a first four officially since 2016, but overall since 2011. How do you like them apples, Zodiac?
There you go. Good research, man. Really good research.
What does that say about me as a Gemini that I like doing that kind of research? Break it down.
That's usually the way it is. A lot of Geminis, and think about it. A lot of artists too. It's all lyrical. It's all about the mental. You know, the intellect, the ideas. I mean, that's. So have you noticed some of the really, really good rappers and artists and musicians and, you know, are Geminis?
Yeah.
You know, Kendrick
I think last time we were talking about it, Kendrick Lamar.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so Kendrick Lamar is real quick before we get into the number one seeds, which is what we're talking about. Just a quick side turn. So we were talking about it that Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West, Prince, was it? They were all Geminis, but they were also Gemini with Pisces moon, right? Which made them pretty peculiar that they were all that specific sign.
Kanye West,
Gemini,
yeah. Andre 3000, Tupac,
yeah.
Notorious B.I.G.
Tupac was another that was also a Pisces moon.
Yeah, Bob Dylan, Lauryn Hill. I mean, these are all Geminis. Geminis, they're very clever, witty,
communicators.
Communicators. It's all intellect with them. You can. It's anything intellectual. It will intrigue a Gemini. You know, they can join any conversation at any point, and they're so versatile at it. You know, like they can easily adapt to any type of conversation, whether it's weird, whether it's funny, whether it's serious, anything. So that's a really good thing.
I think it also helps the mutual aspect of it, right? That also helps. You know, you know who I would love to have a conversation with.
Who?
You know, and maybe I may bump into him here or there.
All right.
It's Kelvin Sampson of the University of Houston Cougars.
Nice.
And that's our first topic. We could talk about U of H, number one seed, Libra, which I find that very interesting because what's his moon sign? Do you know by chance?
I haven't figured out his moon sign, but yeah, he's a Libra. See, the thing is with college basketball, they're a little bit more challenging to find some of the moon signs in general. You know, and relate to NBA players, but I do know he is a Libra for sure.
I'm interested because he's a very hard-nosed coach. I mean, we've seen him play. You know, he was with the Houston Rockets for a good stint, interim coach. You know, and in that interim period, we saw the team improve. Right? They're very hard-nosed. So, but I like that he's a Libra, right? He's always balanced, but he also wears his heart on his sleeve. So that's why I'm interested to see what his moon sign is. But look, man, what Kelvin Sampson has done with the U of H program, it's like, you know, they're gonna have to end up naming the basketball arena after him. I know it's
right.
It's, you know, turn the whole
time out
on it.
Real quick,
Yeah.
guess what his? I just looked it up. He just so happened because he's been in the NBA before, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
guess what his moon sign is?
He's a Taurus.
Gemini.
No way. Get out of here.
But check this out. So here's the thing with a lot of these transitional cusp time, even the moon, because they transition every two. The moon sign transitions every 2.5 days, right? So he's a zero. Well, the thing is, they have to know the exact time of his birthday. But yeah,
Right.
he is between that Taurus Gemini. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does fall under a cusp. But ideally, technicality, he is a Gemini. So he's a Libra sun with a Gemini moon. So that's
a double communicator, right? Well, because
yeah,
Libras are also air sign.
Yeah, it's an air sign. They're all about intellect. So whenever you have a double element of the same sign, I mean that intensifies that energy even more. So he's all about ideas, brings out good ideas, because Libra it's a cardinal sign, so they're very they have a good vision. They're visionary leaders, so they have an idea in place, and he's really good at communicating his ideas. So that's a big plus because of his Gemini moon. So that's a big plus for a head coach. I mean, especially in college, communication is a big deal, especially for developing players,
Wow. Well, aside from Calvin, what else were you able to find out about these Cougars? And what about LJ Crowder, the leading scorer? Break it down for him. Break down the Cougars. Whose house?
There you go. So overall, I was trying to get an idea what this team was about. As you already know. I do my best in trying to understand NCAA basketball, right? But out of the 4 teams I've analyzed, believe it or not, there's 2 that stands out, and one of them is.
Can I guess? Okay, U of H, and the second one is going to be Auburn.
Nope.
Oh, okay, that's it.
But I'll bring it up.
Bring it up. Okay. Okay. Back to U of H.
So I rated U of H as an A- synergy, and they actually have a very, very good starting synergy. So the reason why I look at the starter and core, because they play the majority of the minutes, right? And they usually play about a 7 to 8 man rotation in college, right? So that this is what I gathered from the starting lineup. So Cryer, he's a Libra, same as Sampson, right? They have Emmanuel Sharp, he's a Pisces. Okay, they have Milos Uzan, he's a Capricorn. Terrence Arsenault is a Scorpio, and Joseph Tugler is a Taurus. So
what about Juwan Roberts?
Juwan Roberts is Virgo.
Okay, because he's a starter.
Okay, so that's kind of what I anticipated looking through their schedule. I mean, as of late, that's sort of the lineup that they use. But Cryer
they've been using,
But Cryer does start a lot, right? So he's
Cryer starts. Juwan Roberts got hurt, so he was out the last 2 games. But if he's healthy, he'll be their starter. He'll be in there. Yeah,
I understood. But overall, this team is dominant of energies that do favor Roberts, Tugler, Arsenault, Uzan, and Sharp. So they utilize like that 4-1 starting lineup synergy, right? So this is good. It's a good thing, So, but whenever you have that 4-1 ratio of energies that are very compatible, and you have that trifecta I look for, you have the Taurus in Tugler, right? You have the fixed energy in Tugler and Arsenault, so Taurus Scorpio combination right there. You have the authoritative type leader in Milos Uzan, who's a Capricorn. And then you have Emmanuel Sharp, who's a Pisces, sort of that adaptable energy. And that's a good synergy. I mean, when you have energies of the elements that kind of fits their role, it helps communicate, it helps mold, it helps gel the team a little bit more, right? Cryer is an outlier, but he is a Libra energy, that cardinal energy, that visionary type of energy. So that's that 4-1 energy. So that's kind of where I give him that A- synergy. And I'll try and look at the rotational synergy, also a B+ to A- range. They have Javier Francis. It's also a Libra. So they got 2 Libras. And then Malik Wilson and Mercy Miller are both Virgo. So that's typically the rotation that they use, the starting 5 and then the last 3 I mentioned. But overall, they do have a good overall synergy, which is part of the reason why, they're up there. And now comparing from the team from last year, this year's U of H team has a much, much better synergy than last year. So that's a big plus. That's a big plus.
I like to hear that. I think another big plus to talk a little bit on the actual on-court stuff. I think this is the best shooting team that he's had maybe a couple of seasons. So I think I'm very interested, because that defense is always going to be there. That's one thing you can put your money on with Kelvin Sampson's team. They're going to be a hard team to beat. Like, you're going to remember when you play, the University of Houston. But this is probably his best shooting team that he's had. from beyond the arc. One of the problems I'll say maybe some inside scoring. I know Juwan Roberts gets in there, but that's something they don't do as much this season. But their outside shooting has improved, so they're gonna be a tough out. It's gonna be a tough out. It's gonna be a tough out. So and now good to know that they have that synergy. So now they have that synergy. They have the talent. So yeah, let's hope. I would love nothing more than for Kelvin Sampson to get his first title ring. Like he deserves it. He deserves it.
Yep.
He deserves
there
it.
It goes.
Who also could be warranted of maybe getting a title is Auburn. I think Auburn has won one recently, right? Houston hasn't won one, so we need one. We need one in Houston. But Auburn is the second team we're talking about, the second number 1 seed. They were number 1 for most of the year. So but then they lost their last 2 home games. Let me see where it's gone. Yeah, so they're a very strong team that very. Let me see. What was I have my notes here? I shifted my tab and now I don't know where I was looking at. Here we go. Auburn.
Let's see. Auburn. Okay.
Yeah. So they lost their final 2 regular season games. So they finished 4-3 actually. 4-3. Tough after going most of the season winning, which is kind of tough. That's kind of because I can see it from a coach view, right? You want to be hardcore throughout, but then you start off fast, and then your team kind of gets a bit, settled in, knowing that the tournament's coming up. So what can you tell us about this Auburn Tigers? They have Giovanni Broome, leading them with 18.6 points per game. Cooper in the race for the Wooden War with Cooper Flag, who we'll definitely talk about with the Blue Devils. But this is a team that I feel could make a run. But what can you tell us about this Auburn Tiger? This was the team that I thought had the synergy, but so I was wrong. So what can you tell us?
Well, so does Broome actually start? I mean, so the thing is, I see different lineups with the Auburn Tigers in general, but depending on who they have. But as of late, they have sort of that 3-2. So Broome is a cancer. And then they have Baker Mazzaro's in Aquarius. They have that Aquarius Gemini duo right here with Baker Mazzara and then Drake Cardwell, right? So Cardwell is a Gemini. They have Denver Jones, who's a Scorpio, and then Miles Kelly, who's an Aquarius, right? So they have a good alignment overall. But there's some games that I do see Chaney Johnson starting.
Ooh.
So when Chaney Johnson starts and in place of I think Broome in several of the games, I mean, they have a better synergy overall. But as far as for rotational synergy, I think it's for where their strength is. I think it's an A-. So this is how I rate them. I rate them as a B- starter synergy.
Okay.
An A- in rotational synergy on that. And then as far as for coach goes, I give them a C+ synergy with the coach to rotation. Yeah.
Bruce Pearl. Yeah.
Bruce Pearl, yes. Yeah. So Bruce Pearl, by the way, is a Pisces.
Okay.
On that.
I think it'll be, there's Jay Bilas was talking about, famous ESPN, he was talking about how he's not worried about Auburn, how they finished their season, and you have to kind of just shake it off, right? Too on the flip side, you had such a great season, you stumbled a bit, but maybe this time off for Paris team. But you said that you put them at a B-, right? A B-.
Yes.
So B-. We'll see. We'll see where they go. I don't watch so much Auburn basketball, so I can't I can't talk about them. So. But yeah, so we'll see where they go. The team that often gets talked about more, and it's odd, right? Because this is their foothold. It's only that we talk about them really is in basketball, right? Obviously, they have a football team, and I'm sure other teams, but this is where they make it, right? It's Duke basketball, right?
Yes.
Duke University. Cooper Flag, as I mentioned, is he actually he's out, or I know he got
out.
hurt.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think he's coming back, but.
Yeah, so, oof, yeah.
That's going to hurt him a little bit. But in place of him, I think they still have a pretty good synergy. So, believe it or not, even with Cooper Flag out, that's the second team that are rated with the good overall
Really,
energy. Dude,
even with the
flag out,
is it
yeah.
also with the coach with John Shire? I hope I'm saying that right.
Well, so John Shire is a Virgo, right? So their lineup or what they use as far as for starters go, they utilize a lot of fire energy. It's really
Oh,
interesting. And so I'll just break it down real quick. So they have Isaiah Evans, he's a Sagittarius, right, along with Cyan James, also a Sagittarius. So they got two Sagittarius in
yeah.
the starting lineup, and then they have the Leo and Con Nupel, right, and then Tyrus Proctor is an Aries. So all fire signs, right? And
Oh,
then the
yeah.
outlier that fifth player that they use is Cayman. Am I saying his name right? Malak.
Yeah, I
Malik.
think so.
Malik. Malik.
Malik. We'll go with
Yes.
Malik. Yeah.
So he's a Virgo. So they utilize that 4-1 synergy. Now, ideally, whenever Cooper Flag, who's a Sagittarius cusp, starts, I mean, they still have that good, strong overall synergy, which makes them a very complete team. So overall, starter synergy A-, rotational synergy A-, coach synergy B-.
Eh, B minus.
Yes.
So you had so who was number one in your rankings of the number one seeds? Was it Houston and then Duke?
I have both of them equal. So the rest
Equal.
pretty much
Okay.
falls under talent,
Oh, right, right.
skill,
Got it. Yeah,
effort,
that's
and
true.
everything else.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, man, Duke is doing it with three freshmen, right? Starting three freshmen.
wow.
You said Flag, Malek,
Uh-huh.
Con Nupel, Con Knupel.
Nipple.
I'm saying that wrong. Nupel, yeah.
It's
Silent
like
K there.
it sound like
Knupel.
it's like saying knob, like doorknob, knob. Oh, knee.
Knob. I'm gonna start calling that. Hey, go ahead and grab the door knob. Door knob. I like that.
Oh, it's probably con nupple. I mean, it's that silent
I
K,
like
maybe,
it.
you know.
It could be. I can
Right?
see. I can see it. But you have to give credit to John Shire. I mean, three freshmen. But granted, I mean, with
Yes.
Duke, I mean, you're good. Let's be honest. It's always going to be freshmen, right? Especially one thing that I've always wondered is if the impact of NIL might allow students, athletes to stay in the game longer, right? I know
Yes.
we've
Yes.
heard we've seen talk about Cooper Flag thinking about maybe staying one more year.
Hmm.
And previously, one of the reasons why players would jump is let me take my opportunity and go ahead and jump so I can make money, right? But now that
Uh-huh.
they're making
Yep.
money through the NIL, I wonder if that will allow them to not allow them, but that will give them a sense of peace. Be like, you know what, let me stay one more year at least, and unless you just have a great first year, it's freshman year, Carmelo Anthony comes to mind, right? That's the last one I really just remember, just really like put his stamp on the like say, hey, I'm freaking worthy to
There you
to
go.
to jump, which is crazy. Like you think about what he did. Any other draft, he's number one, right? But
Hmm.
we had LeBron James also coming into the NBA in that year. So,
Oh, you're right. You're
uh,
right.
right. Oh man. So all right. So that was the Duke Blue Devils. Yeah. With no Cooper Flag, that's what intrigued me. That you said that even with him out, they still have a good synergy.
They do.
So,
Yeah.
and I think in March Madness more than any other place in basketball that we talk about, I think you really build that synergy really helps because I mean you're traveling with
It
the same
does.
team for 2 weeks, right? Sometimes 3 weeks, and it's just night after night hotel play
Mhm.
practice and even practice, right? So you're with the same people more so
Mhm.
than during the regular season, right? So what I
Yeah.
think was that synergy can really come into play,
Yeah.
really come into play, so and then we got what did we talk about? We got where are we talking
Florida. Florida.
Florida. Florida. I was surprised. I thought Alabama was actually going to take it, but after seeing how things played out, it makes sense that Florida got it.
Hmm.
What do you make of Florida? What do you
So,
got to say about Florida?
so Todd Golden, their head coach, is a Cancer, right? So their starting core. They have Alex Condon. He's a Leo. They have Ruben Shinyulu. He's a Libra,
Yeah, thanks.
right? So they have that Leo Libra combination right there. And then they have two Capricorns, Elijah Martin and also Will Richard, both Capricorns, right? Along with the Pisces and Walter Clayton. So as far as their synergy goes, I give them a B minus. As far as for the starter synergy, rotational synergy, I also give them a B minus. But their coach synergy, I give it a B plus. So they're sort of they're sort of like that mid to upper, range as far as for overall team synergy. But out of the four number one teams, I still give Houston and Duke, up there, sort of that tie, and then Florida and Auburn, sort of in the bottom two there. So
Yeah, they do a run and go style in Florida. They are second in the country in fast break points. And they're I think among one of the best in offensive rebounds.
Hmm.
So they're a team that's gonna run and go. So I I I'm trying to remember if refs blow the whistle as much in the regular season as to this March Madness, right? Or this
Uh-huh,
tournament.
uh-huh.
Because it's kind of like playoff, right? Like in the NBA where, the refs let you play a little bit rougher, just a bit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so I wonder if that's what it is also with playoffs. I mean, also March Madness
When's
games.
their when's their first game for the tournament?
The first round starts Thursday. Let me see.
Uh-huh.
March Madness
Uh-huh.
tournament. Let me see. I'm going to go to the schedule. Yeah, I think the first game is officially Thursday. Bracket rankings. Here we go. Yes. Oh, wait. Where am I? Okay, here we go. First game is Thursday. First round, Thursday, March 20. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's
U of H
U of
plays that
H.
day too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 4 games.
Out of the last, because U of H has been very competitive last several years. I think this year may be their best shot, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because as far as for synergy goes, I feel like this year's team has the strongest synergy compared to their last, 4 or 5 years or several years. Because they've been
Yeah.
up there. They've been up there. They've been a really, really good team over the years,
Yeah.
especially with Kelvin Sampson there. So this
No,
year I
yeah.
think they're strong.
Of the 4 seeds, I definitely have Houston going higher. And I haven't done my
Hmm.
bracket yet. I something never. I used to do my bracket a lot, but I stopped, and just because I don't watch it as much, right? I watch some of the obviously U of H games,
Hmm.
but for fun, too, is to make it. But yeah, I think this is their best year. I think this
Now,
is,
now, now, since with U of H, you're a little bit more familiar, being there, watching the games. Who do you feel has had like that chemistry between, a duo or here and there? Who do you feel,
LJ
or
Cryer for sure. With it's,
or is it more
is
like a
it
toss up?
Yeah, it's more like a toss. I mean, OJ Cryer and Juwan Roberts, they're obviously they're like their go
Hmm.
tos, but I don't know as far as synergy because it's like they play so hard that it's like
It's more balance, you feel,
yeah,
right?
I feel so,
Uh-huh.
it's hard to say, but you can tell that
Yeah.
there's a click, like even with Calvin Sampson, I mean, but you've seen, like just a point, an example, he's like I say, he works his heart on his sleeve, kind of very tough.
Hmm.
They had senior night where Jawan Roberts, he's a 6 year player, right? Because he got hurt a couple of years, so
Oh wow.
he asked for eligibility. But
Hmm.
he's finally graduated. I mean, he's finally senior night, so it's his last game at the state at the arena in front of his fans.
Hmm.
And Calvin Sampson kind of got emotional, kind of thinking about when to hug him and everything, and it just kind of like showed the kind of coach he is, and kind of like what sometimes we don't see behind the, like in front of the camera, right? Maybe behind the scenes, or but it was just good. But you also see him like as human, and I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
also shows you why he is who he is. And another thing, whenever they won the Big 12 title, the first Big 12 title, right, which is huge, he went to where the band was because they're playing. I can't remember where they're playing. He
Hmm.
went out to the fans, to the band, and he told them to come down so they could each high five him. And then there was like 4 lines, and he waited there till everybody came. So it's just
Yeah.
like, so I think it's just the vibe to him. Like it's a Libra and a Gemini moon. He kind of
Hmm.
sets the vibe and the tempo. So it's just, I would say it's like a very balanced energy. Like, you don't see a couple people, or it's just these two clicking a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be
And
my
that's what
assessment.
Libra's all about. That's what Libra's are all about in general, especially when they take the lead role. They're all about building bridges. They're all about
Yeah.
harmony. They're all about, balancing everything out. And they're very fair minded too. So the thing with Libras as well, they tend to want to be sort of like that underdog, right? And
Mm.
they favor underdogs as well. So they have that you kind of get a sense of who their head coach, the type of energy
Yeah.
that the leader brings. So that's what you're getting out of Kelvin Sampson.
Wow. Interesting. That's very interesting. Well, we'll see. I have him going to the Final Four. For sure. But I have to finish making my bracket to see who they could
Yeah.
face.
From here on, I mean, there's several teams I'll take a look at as far as for their starter synergy, because that's sort of like their main thing that I kind of like to analyze and see who else is sort of like an underdog, that lower bracket type seed, that Cinderella type team that can probably make it out, because every year there's always one,
There's always
and
one.
also upsets too with
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's gonna be very interesting. Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting, just like this episode was. Zodiac, any final words?
Follow us on Twitter X at the Zodiac GM and also Hoopstrology.
And follow me, Jesus_Acevedo Jr. and follow the Bayou City. And don't forget to subscribe. See ya.